What is up, everyone? Today I'm going to answer the most common question I get asked since starting a BookTube channel. No, not that question. This question. What reading order should you read Brandon Sanderson books in if you haven't read any Brandon Sanderson books at all? Now, you might be asking, why does order matter? Can't I just, hop right into Stormlight? Yeah, you can if you want to hop into the long books right away. You can do that. But in this video, I'm going to give my advice, at least, on maybe a better way to approach his works. So first, we have to talk about his Cosmere. So, Stormlight Archive, Way of Kings, Elantris, and Mistborn are all set in the same universe on different planets. But even though they're on different planets, some things apply, cross over in one way or another between all worlds. So there might be an Easter egg from Warbreaker, for example, that shows up in the Stormlight Archive. There might be quite a few Easter eggs, which brings me to my first suggestion. I think you should read Warbreaker before you read Stormlight Archive, or at least before you read Book 2 of Stormlight Archive. And again, you don't have to, but Warbreaker is definitely the book that has the most crossover with Stormlight Archive. So, Greg, are you recommending that I start with Warbreaker? Well, there's no reason you can't. Warbreaker is a great place to start because it's a standalone novel. It will let you dip your toe into Sanderson's writing style without starting a huge series. It's got fun characters. It's got a cool world and magic system. I think all of Sanderson's books have a good world and magic system, but Warbreaker's definitely no exception. So yeah, if you get nothing else from this video, definitely get that you should read Warbreaker before you read Stormlight Archive, or at least before you read Book 2 of Stormlight Archive. Now, I'm going to say Warbreaker is one of the 4 places that I'd recommend starting. And Warbreaker is the place to start if you just want to get into Stormlight Archive as quickly as possible. But if you don't care about Stormlight Archive and all the hype going on right now, but the other 3 places I'd recommend starting are Emperor's Soul, which I won't really be talking about anymore in this video, but I bring it up just because it is a short story. So if you really just want the Cliff Note version to a Sanderson world book, whatever, and how he builds a world and just a taste of what he does with a magic system, Emperor's Soul is great. And it's a 3-hour audiobook on Script, which I will link my referral link in the description if you want 60 days free. And if you use my link, it also gives me a free 30 days. So thank you if you do, but you don't have to. But yeah, it's just so short, and you don't have to know anything about any other world or whatever. This does take place on the same planet as Elantris, which is the next book I'm going to talk about. But you really don't have to have read Elantris to understand anything in Emperor's Soul, or vice versa. But yes, Elantris is the next place I'd recommend starting. This was Sanderson's first published book. And yeah, there's a lot of politicking going on in this. There's a lot of cool world building, and it is also the place I started to read Sanderson. It's a standalone, which makes this better to read than Mistborn. I will say there's not a ton of action in this, and the magic system feels less Sanderson-esque. When you read Stormlight or Mistborn or whatever, the magic's really coming at you. But this, a lot of it, it just feels like, a fantasy world with very little magic, almost like Game of Thrones or something. And yes, the 4th and final place I'd recommend dipping your toe into Sanderson, Mistborn Era 1, which is a trilogy. This book is sometimes called Mistborn. It's sometimes called The Final Empire. Mistborn is probably the most liked place to start, in that I think most people like Mistborn more than Warbreaker or Elantris. It's also part of a trilogy, so if you like Mistborn, it's very easy to just hop into books 2 and 3. And this has the best magic system, or certainly the richest magic system. It probably has the richest world building too, and it has a ton of action and a ton of combat with this unique magic system. And a lot of like magic system uses that are not combat related as well. So yeah, Mistborn is, if I had to just say one final recommendation for everyone across the board to start with, I would say Mistborn. Final answer. Mistborn, Final Empire, final answer. All right, we're going to do a game because I love games. Love games. Sorry, just a little Old Greg reference. If you don't know what Old Greg is, good. Do not look it up. Old Greg is why British people are horrible. All right, so we're going to rank these. Elantris, Warbreaker, Sanderson, from most on top to least on bottom in some different categories. So first, political intrigue. Elantris, most political intrigue. Most good political intrigue, I think. Warbreaker second, has a lot of political intrigue as well. Mistborn, some, not as much, certainly. All right, cool combat. Mistborn, definitely most combat scenes, most action-y scenes. Warbreaker second most. Warbreaker's really not an action book at all, I would say. Elantris third most. All right, third, YA-ishness. Is that a category? Most YA, I would say Warbreaker. The girls you're following around in Warbreaker, one of them is 17, the other is 21. Vin, who's the main character in Mistborn, is also a younger character, and it's kind of definitely a coming of age story for her. Elantris, they're more like young adults, as in not teenagers. They're like in their 20s. And this really feels like more of an adult fantasy with all the politics going on, and the interpersonal drama in Elantris is adult, and that makes it sound like there's talks about sex and violence. No, it's nothing like that. It's just politics, organizing, movement building, magic system. All right. Best magic system on top. This is my list. I'm doing this how I want. I think Mistborn has, I don't think this is even in debate. Out of these three, Mistborn has the best magic system. To me, Elantris is second. And I know this is controversial, but Elantris has magical creatures, and the magic system in Elantris is more presented as a puzzle, whereas Warbreaker, it's hey, this is this group of people, they have power because they have the magic and stuff. But don't even worry about these two. If you want a book that's super, super fantasy oriented and has that super fantasy magic system, definitely just go with Mistborn. Characters. Best characters. This is again going to be controversial. Oh boy. Here come the comments. What? You don't think Mistborn has the best characters of those three? No, I don't. I just love the characters in Elantris. I'm sorry. They're actually very good in all of these books. Elantris both has my favorite character of these three books and has my favorite minor character of these three books. And Warbreaker has my least favorite main character out of these three books. But Mistborn characters are great. I've got a whole Mistborn character tier list because Mistborn just has more characters and has more side characters. Which of these do I like the most? Mistborn barely edging out Elantris, and then for me, Warbreaker is definitely a few steps down from Elantris. Again, somewhat controversial. A lot of people I know like Warbreaker more than Elantris, and even more than Mistborn. But I would say usually most people like Mistborn the most out of these three. I don't know what other category to even rank things in, but if you have an idea, put it in the comments below and I will rank them for you in the comments. How about that? But yeah, that's everything. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I will hopefully be done with Oathbringer. Hopefully. Oh shoot, wait a minute. Do I have to finish Oathbringer by tomorrow? Oh my god, that's not gonna happen, is it? Alright, well, Oathbringer review will be sometime soon, so comment, and subscribe for that, and see you guys next time.